Yeah, I look cute. I'm not even gonna lie.
When I look outside my window, I can get no peace of mind. When I look outside my window.
Hello, my internet friends. I hope that you all are doing well. Welcome back to my channel. Before we get into this video, I hope that you will like, comment, and subscribe. I feel like I need to start throwing that out there to encourage people who might watch my videos to do those things, since I usually don't say them. But let's just get straight into this video. I'm not going to do a lot of talking. I'm here for a good time, not a long time, trying to make this a concise, short video. Done my eye makeup, put on my foundation, just really doing the finishing touches on my makeup. I don't want you guys to sit here and watch me pat in my face this entire time. But we're going to talk a little bit about my mental health in medical school and just in life in general and whatnot. There's some things that I've seen that made me think about this, wanting to talk about this a little bit more. For instance, this Instagram, which I'll insert here.
Black women, anxiety typically shows up as irritability or shut.
My name is Dr. Shonda. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist, and I approve this message. And this is true even for depression. Black women are less likely to exhibit those stereotypical symptoms of depression, such as a depressed mood, and more likely to become irritable and self-critical, which ultimately makes it more likely for clinicians to overlook symptoms, which actually makes it more difficult for Black women to be diagnosed with anxiety and depression. And this ultimately impacts the treatment that they receive, which is why we need more culturally sensitive clinicians.
As well as this article, which I'll insert over here. And it just got me thinking about myself as a Black woman and my mental health in medical school and whatnot and whatever. And I think for me, where I can start is basically like, I never really thought that I had like mental health issues or anything going on in a sense until I kind of got into medical school. And it's not that like medical school made my symptoms or the things that I was feeling worse. It's more so that I started reflecting on how I handled certain things or my interactions, not even handle certain things, but like my feelings around certain things. And I had this realization that oh, I think I might have some mental health things going on. First things I want to say is that when it comes to happy moments and happy experience and whatnot, for happy moments, I can genuinely say I've never, maybe once in my life, and it was like a minute moment, never really experienced the sensation of feeling like, oh my goodness, this intense amount of happiness. And you're probably thinking for me, I've always said I wanted to go into medicine. I always said I wanted to go to medical school. That would be the moment. And it wasn't that. I remember just getting my first acceptance to medical school. And I was just oh, okay. And that for me is what, when I look back, is the first thing I can think of oh, there's something more going on here and not just whatever. I think in a sense that it's two things. I think I live in a constant state of they call it chronic dysthymia, where I'm just chronically, in a sense, unhappy with life, but I just am not aware of it. And it's I've become more aware of it being in medical school and having the stresses of school, but also my personal life and things happening there. And I think the second thing with not having these reactions of full-blown happiness is that I put so much expectations on what I hope an experience will be, that when it does happen and it doesn't, not everything is exactly how I had placed it to be, that I start feeling dang, I'm actually upset and I'm sad about it. And then along with that, as a Black woman, I think that there's ways that I experience depression and anxiety, as the article that I put up, that I realize is a little different from other people. But I think that, for instance, I do experience a lot of the typical things. I just didn't know that's what it was, of anhedonia, not interested in the things, the actual literal depressed mood and whatnot. But there's certain things too when it comes to anxiety and depression and whatnot that I'm it's definitely different. A big example of this is that I remember during my first year, I was actually making this bed frame here. And I remember just being really stressed with moving, being away from my family, being away from my friends and my partner. And I remember I was like having difficulty putting it together. And I was having, when I tell you I was having a blow up moment of just like frustration that I couldn't figure it out. I thought there was like a missing piece that they didn't give me. And I was so upset. And then I realized, like I look back on it, I'm like, I was acting out my anxiety in that moment, and I didn't even realize it. And then the second way that it actually shows up, and this has happened to me multiple times in medical school, I go through phases, like when I come home from school, when I come here, being at school, which is in a different state, from being at home for a few weeks, you know, being around love and family and friends, and then the contrast of coming back here, now that I live alone, being alone and having to find other ways to find emotional connections without the actual physical connection of having my support system. I go through like literally like a week or two where I feel nauseous, I feel dizzy. And the first time like it happened during like my first year in medical school, when I was really stressed. I don't know why I was stressed. Maybe it was the exam going on and just like other stuff. But I remember I was really super duper stressed, and I started having this period of just like random dizziness. And then after I took the exam, after that kind of dwindled away, I was fine. And I've had that happen multiple times. And for me, it's like, I think it's that thing of like, I try to tell myself, I don't even think I try to tell myself I'm not stressed. I don't think that's the case. I think that I just don't think I'm as stressed as I am. And my body responds by saying, like with those symptoms, like saying, girl, no, you're stressed and it's okay. But I just kind of ignore it until my body's like, you need to actually pay attention to like, there's something going on. And the other thing that I want to talk about with like my mental health and being in school and whatnot is the contrast, and I don't know if that's for other people, with I feel like the stressors that I deal with school is somehow better than the stressors I have in my personal life. And not to say that my personal life and everything is horrible, because it's not, but I just think that, like, for instance, recently I had someone ask me in my family, they were like, how do you kind of like throughout my years living at home, being with my family or whatnot, always putting my education first, always putting this goal of becoming a physician first. And they were asking me, like, how do you do it? Like, what is the drive? What is this? And yeah, there is a sense of drive for me of like, I can't help anybody else if I can't help myself. And that's always been kind of my thing. So I see me becoming a physician, obviously the monetary gain that comes with that, the status that comes with that, being able to help my family, help my friends, help whatever. And for me, I've put so much weight in that. And is it the reality of what it's going to be that I'll be able to help people from that standpoint? Probably not. But in my mind, that's always been a thing where like, I can help people if I become a physician, not just in the sense of like patients and stuff, but like my family, my friends, in whatever circumstance, whether that be monetarily, if they need something or whatever. But I see myself as being able to like help people. But the other side of it with medical school and seeking this dream or chasing this dream of becoming a physician is that like, the reality is that like there were things that I'm running away of my realities that of my realities of just like family life, home life, and whatever in circumstances I don't want to be in. And I think if you're first generation, like in medicine or any like hyper successful career, that you kind of have that notion too, where it's just like you're chasing the thing of wanting something else. And so again, it's not like my upbringing was horrible. It's not like my family is bad, my friends and support. I feel very supported. I feel very fortunate to have the people in life that I do. But I do see circumstances or there are bad things that happen to good people in my life. There are bad things that happen just in general with life and stuff. And I know I'm being kind of vague, but I think that me continuously focusing on medicine and becoming a physician has been a way for me to escape that. Like the stress of chasing this, the stress of being in school seems sometimes more manageable is what I'm trying to get at than the stress of being everything else. And I think that's been true for a lot of things that have happened in my life, in my family, in my personal life in general. And that's kind of like, I know a lot of people always talk about medicine and medical school and the stress of this and whatever. But it's always, for me, felt better. Now, what's scary to me is that, wait, I want to say one more thing. And so I think that, like, sometimes when it comes to bad things happening in school, you know, whether that be grades, not getting the grades that I want or whatever, it also, like, even though it's scary and stressful and I put so much weight in becoming a physician, I think that having the perspective of things like could be worse in your personal life or whatever, it's also made me not feel as like those things are as daunting. I'm not saying I don't get emotional when things happen. I don't cry my eyes out at the thought of, like, you know, not being at school anymore, not becoming a physician. I do, but I think it's so short-lived compared to the emotional response I have to things in my personal life that it just seems more manageable. And I always feel like there's a way to work it out. There's a way to change my perspective and thought process on it that makes it just like, okay, like, we'll work through it. We'll be fine. Where I don't necessarily have that situation with the things that happen in my personal life. They're not things I can control. Like, I can control if I fail a test or if I get a bad grade. I can do things to turn it around. I can't turn things around that happen in my personal life in that way. So I will say that for me, when it comes to mental health thing, I think it's so convoluted in that sense, because it's like, I have mental health like concerned or issues or depression or whatever in terms of both the personal and the schooling. But sometimes I think I kind of play this game of feeling like I'll just drown myself in whatever with school and not pay attention to the personal stuff, which is not good, because that stuff catches up to you later. The final thing I want to say on this is just this thing that, like, it's kind of scary to me that, like, the idea of going into residency and how stressful that is, of being so engulfed and, you know, really working in my career, and how scary that's going to be to, like... Okay, so what I'm trying to say here basically with residency is that things get very, very real. I'm going to be acclimating to a new career, something I've dreamt of forever, obviously, of working with women and treating women. But the reality of it is, in that I'm working my dream of something that I've been passionate about, I'm also going to be dealing with real people's lives. And so the ante is upped. I'm no longer just going to have to be stressing about, like, exams and testing, even though that's a very real thing that's still part of residency and going to follow me throughout my entire career. But it's even more stressful for me to have to deal with the notion that I'm going to be dealing with people's real lives. That comes with the territory of being a physician. And so I can no longer use my, like, medicine and working in medicine as something to escape from my personal life, when those things are going to be just as stressful as some of the things I have going on in my life. And so that's my big concern with going into residency and starting my career. So I think about that, and I've been thinking about it. It's something I'm aware of. It's something that, you know, that's why I'm trying to be more in tune with my feelings than I have in the past, and my emotions, and, you know, understanding that, like, you know, it's okay to, like, really feel those things. It's okay to, like, have a moment where I focus on it. And just, I want to try to start practice mindfulness and, you know, meditation, things like that, to really ground myself. Because I think there are ways that, like, those things present themselves, like my emotions and my lack of intuneness. I don't know if the word's intuition. I guess my lack of, like, being in tune with my emotions show up in other ways. And I'm kind of more aware of it. Like when I tell you I'm a crybaby, I'm a crybaby. I can easily cry when it comes to, like, commercials, TV shows, whatever. And I think that a part of it is because I don't necessarily pay attention to my emotions on a daily basis or in my life in general. So I'm trying to be more conscious of that. But yeah, so that's my quick video on that. I'm gonna just finish up my makeup, do quick touches, and then I'll say bye to you all. But I wanted to make this a quick, short video, and I'm proud of myself. It's about 15 minutes and things are going to be cut out. So I'll see you guys in a little bit. Hello, I'm back. This is the finished look. Yeah, I look cute. I'm not even gonna lie. I hope that this video isn't me rambling and that it didn't make sense or whatever. I wanted to get this done quick. If there's anything that I feel I needed to mention or need to clarify, I will put in a voiceover. But that's the gist of this video, talking about a little bit of my mental health with school, thinking about the future, just in my life in general as a Black woman, and some of how I feel like it does present a little bit differently from the typical way of depression and anxiety. But I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that you will like, comment, and subscribe, please. And I hope that you're having a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm not going anywhere. I just did this makeup. I'm about to shoot another video that you guys won't see for a long periodical time, like a long ways away, but it's an important video. So I'm about to shoot that, do some more schoolwork, watch some reality TV, go to sleep, the whole usual thing. But I hope that, again, that you're having a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, and I'll catch you in my next video. Bye.
When I look outside my window, I can get no peace of mind. When I look outside